Akira is a 1988 animated film directed by Katsuhiro Otomo. 31 years after the destruction of Tokyo, the city of Neo-Tokyo has risen in its place. Kaneda, the leader of a biker gang called the Capsules, leads his people through the city to fight the Clowns, a rival gang. Among the Capsules is Tetsuo. The Capsules encounter two beings, seemingly children, with decaying ancient bodies. The military arrests Kaneda and sends Tetsuo to a hospital. Dr. Onishi discovers that Tetsuo has the ability to have psychic powers, much like a child named Akira, who caused the destruction of Tokyo. Tetsuo escapes and flees with his girlfriend. He is attacked by the Clowns, but is rescued by Kaneda. Tetsuo, upset that he is always being saved by Kaneda, begins to take out his frustrations on the city, causing devastation to the military that tried to control him and the other pale children. Tetsuo loses control of his powers and his body. Akira reappears, previously thought lost, and sends Tetsuo away. Kaneda and his friends survive. Elsewhere, a voice exclaims, "I am Tetsuo," and something begins elsewhere in the cosmos. This animated film is historically significant as it helped popularize anime in the West. It influenced later science fiction directors like the Wachowskis and Rian Johnson. It has this kind of legendary status among American fans of Japanese animation, but beyond its place in animated film history, what is so remarkable about it? Well, at a glance, it seems like the classic tragic hero story. A tragic hero is not necessarily heroic, just the protagonist. A tragic hero has a flaw that prevents him from getting what he wants and leads to his downfall. In the case of Tetsuo, he is angry with Kaneda and jealous of his status, leading to immaturity even for a teenager. The tragic hero, as the name suggests, meets an unfortunate end. Famous tragic heroes throughout literature include Oedipus, whose hubris is his undoing, and Hamlet, whose flaw may be his indecisiveness. Tetsuo embraces his flaw rather than attempting to overcome it, and because of this, he becomes the villain of his own story.
Be quiet and do what you're told. Take your medicine every day and then end up all shriveled like those kids!
There's a lot more to the film than basic storytelling conventions and a moral about overcoming personal demons, though. In the beginning, we see the destruction of Tokyo. Japan has a tragic history with nuclear weapons. The only nuclear assault in human history thus far has been at the end of World War II, dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the United States. When we see the explosion, this wave of energy, that connection is made. Akira has destroyed Tokyo for reasons unknown, and in its place, Neo-Tokyo is a bustling metropolis full of new technology, a post-apocalyptic, cyberpunk dystopia. And then at the end of the film, another great cataclysm occurs, again caused by Akira. The visual is repeated, and Tetsuo is absorbed into another universe. In this, we are seeing Akira, a kind of god, punish humankind for its corruption, perhaps believing that the advent of future technology has ruined the soul of man. This ties into the fear of advancing military technology that has plagued Japan for so long. To this day, due to the events of World War II, the nation has eschewed having a powerful military, opting for limited armed forces. When the military grew in power, Akira decimated Tokyo. Within the narrative, he may have simply lost control of his powers. It is only thematically resembling a judgment. In the film, Colonel Shikishima believes in the soldier's way. His entire personality and view of the world is filtered through the lens of the military. He stages a coup d'etat and forces Neo-Tokyo under martial law. This echoes a failed real-world insurrection in Japan in 1936, often called the February 26th incident. Shortly thereafter, Akira creates the second energy wave after the battle between Shikishima's forces and Tetsuo. Humankind did not learn from its mistakes, and so it was punished again. The punishment of mankind by God reoccurs in various faiths. Sodom and Gomorrah in the Book of Genesis, in the Holy Bible, and in the Quran. The psionic waves in the film are like cosmic cycles, but on a more local scale. But it is not God himself causing devastation to Tokyo, and later Neo-Tokyo. It is Akira. But the powerful being has been deified by the populace. They praise what they believe is his return. Apotheosis is the glorification of a human being as divine. The early Egyptian dynastic period began approximately 3050 BC. and deified its leaders, its pharaohs, as divine. Philip II in ancient Greece declared himself divine as well. This occurred in ancient Rome, in ancient China, and obviously later in Christianity. The Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints believes in the divine potential for human beings. A quote often attributed to Lorenzo Snow, a 19th century Mormon leader, is, "As man now is, God once was. As God now is, man may be." Kay, possessed by one of the Esper children, explains that human evolution may not be complete, that our single-cell origins and early primate ancestry to modern Homo sapiens is not the end of a straight line, but that we are inheriting so much and could gain so much more. Tetsuo certainly does. Apotheosis resurfaces throughout history and within a variety of religious faiths so much that it speaks to something in humanity. In the absence of God, man creates his own. The people of Neo-Tokyo believe in the divinity of Akira. Clearly not all of them, but we see a religious sect and a following. They say that he came to them, disappeared, and that he will come again, much like other prominent religious figures. Akira does return, he is resurrected, and judges humanity, in a manner of speaking. Tetsuo's connection with Akira and his display of great power has the people believe that they are seeing Akira instead of Tetsuo. The boy clothes himself in a cape, like a mythical figure or an emperor, or even superhero. The people worship them as gods, believing that the energy waves are not products of science or a next step in human evolution, but actually miracles and heavenly might. Following the destruction of the first Tokyo, people are willing to accept Akira and Tetsuo as divine beings. Religiosity actually increases following a disaster. In the absence of a provable god, we make one for ourselves and attribute phenomena to him.
I am Tetsuo.
Both the tragic character Tetsuo, his friend and rival Kaneda, and the revolutionary Kai are all young, the implication being that the young will supplant the old, a new cycle, and that their decisions could either bring about a better world than the one Japan saw in the middle of the 20th century, or one that could conceivably be worse if the young followed the same mistakes as the previous generation. Tetsuo's transformation from teenage boy to superpowered demigod to monstrosity speaks to the themes of the film on several levels. In addition to the aforementioned godhood, Tetsuo is a representative of someone who misuses his power. He is granted incredible destructive powers, and he uses his abilities to harass those he dislikes, kill people, and flaunt his divinity over others. Here, he sits on a throne. This ties into the cry for responsible use of power that has been part of Japanese culture both in politics and in film since the aftermath of World War II. Colonel Shikishima and Tetsuo are in conflict with one another, misuse their authority, and the results are catastrophic. One of the Esper children says that power lies inside everyone, but it is important to choose how to use it well. Tetsuo, she says, has already made his choice. We can see Tetsuo's transformation as a physical representation of loss of humanity. What makes us human is a matter of what little DNA is distinct from other animals, but culturally and sociologically, what makes us human is a shared empathy, a mutual compassion, the desire for there to be a value on human life. Tetsuo is seen quite literally becoming less human physically because he, like many others in the film, are becoming less human culturally or spiritually. In the end, perhaps due to the teachings of Akira and the Pale Children, the Espers, Tetsuo completes his apotheosis in the other realm. He says, "I am Tetsuo," akin to the biblical declaration, "I am." We see a flash of light, like a new universe being created. The Colonel once said, "Gone are the joys of reconstruction." But creation and destruction are part of an infinite process, never beginning or ending. Maybe it's organic, or the cycle is dictated by those who choose to repeat mistakes. After all, Akira's climax takes place in an Olympic sports stadium, with Neo-Tokyo scheduled to host in 2020. This is actually a symbol of Japanese reconstruction. The real-world 1964 Olympics were a post-war landmark for Japan. Fictional Tokyo, presumably along with the original stadium, was destroyed at the beginning of the film, then rebuilt and finally destroyed again. Destruction and creation, without end. In losing contact with his world, Tetsuo could start again with his own powers of creation. Another cosmic cycle, perhaps better than what came before. Thanks for watching the latest episode of Renegade Cut, everyone. If you want to support the show, you can click the orange link to my Patreon. That's how all of this happens. If you want to subscribe and never miss an episode, click on the red link. If you want to watch more, there are some recommended videos below. I'll see you next week for another episode.